All right, hello everybody. How's it going? Welcome back to the Stock Market Outlook video brought to you by DeepView. Apologize for no webcam this week. I'm currently in Austin, Texas for my sister's PhD graduation. I got a chance to also see some great traders who I've talked with for quite some time on Twitter, Mike Webster, Paul Fredrickson, Mike Dominguez. So super cool experience, and we'll be back with the face cam next week. As always in this video, we'll run through the market indexes, some leading themes, and also run through some really important individual stocks that I definitely think are worth keeping an eye on. If you do find this video helpful, please go ahead and leave a like down below. Really helps me out and my channel. Highly would appreciate if you guys would just take a moment and go ahead and like the video down below and subscribe if you haven't yet and want to see more videos just like this one every single week. This video is brought to you by DeepView. That's the platform that you're seeing right here. It's my daily driver for screening, charting, the works. We're improving every single week, adding new features. And for instance, we just added the performance charts in this past week. We'll be adding in scatter plots and a lot more useful apps that really help you visualize and just speed up your routines and help process and find the top stocks that much faster. That's our number one goal. And we're always working towards that and listening to feedback and trying to iterate as fast as possible. If you're interested, we have a great deal right now, 2 months for $39. You can click the link that's popping up right now, or it's down below in the description. Highly recommend picking that up as well. With that said, let's go ahead and dive right in and start with the market index ETF. So first, looking at the Qs, still in this consolidation period, we're pretty far off the lows here. We've rallied considerably. We're back into this congestion area. We've rallied above the 21 EMA, 50 SMA. We've had this nice gap move up into this prior area of potential resistance. And at this point, it's kind of do or die. Do we continue to build out, or do we kind of reject down, maybe find support at that 10 EMA, 50 SMA down here? That's definitely an area I'll be watching towards the upside, or actually to the downside rather. And otherwise, if we can hold a little bit firmer, we are a little bit tight in this area. Closes are tightening up a little bit. We're seeing the volatility come down, as you can see from RMV. So I'd love to see us digest kind of through time here, pull back slightly and then have a strong confirmation upward. Friday, we tried to push higher. We're rejected back down and closed right near this high, which remains a key level. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. We're a little bit short-term extended, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens and how this pattern resolves. Looking at the IWO, this is a little bit weaker, especially on Friday. Gapped up, closed near lows, right near the bottom of this prior range, below the 50 SMA. But we are, well off the lows here and above a rising 21 EMA. And really, this 21 EMA is the most important moving average for me on this ETF as well as the Qs. As long as we remain above a rising 21 EMA, I think it's fine for my personal system and style to be looking for long trades in individual names that are the strongest, the leaders, and I'm looking to position those names at the start of a potential uptrend to ride that kind of momentum and breath wave as we potentially get an uptrend going. But index is a little bit short-term extended, but all that might mean is that we see some rotation or pause in the mega caps, and those kind of digest for a little bit as the smaller caps and mid caps kind of take charge. Just because we're short-term extended, especially at the beginning of a potential uptrend, doesn't mean we can't just go much further than this, and we'll just have to wait and see what actually happens next week. But things look strong. We're above that rising 21 EMA, which is the key takeaway, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Looking at the themes here, I've got my theme ETFs watch list, and this is one of the presets that you can find. If you just go under deep list presets, you'll see my theme ETFs here. And you can see I've got the 5-day percent change sorted by that. Gold miners have been the strongest. We see semiconductors down here as well. But gold, small cap, those are the top names over the past 5 days. And I also want to go over to this view. This is a dashboard that I created using a few performance charts. And by the way, if you want to add a performance chart to your setup, all you have to do is click this blue button, drag this in, and then select whether you want a screen in here. You can also use the presets that we have or a watch list. and then you want to basically select the data point here. And currently for all of these, I've got the data point of the price percent change over the last 15 days, because if we go ahead and look at this rally, we're pretty much 15 days into this rally attempt. So I want to see what's been strongest since the start, since the bottom here, or potential bottom at this point. So with that said, looking at the themes, we've got many of the same names we just saw, but TNA has been the strongest. That's interesting. SMH, obviously a key theme for us. We've been on the AI semis theme from the very beginning. That's been strong throughout 2023 as well. ARQ in here, BBH, the Drive ETF here. So there's some interesting names in here and some interesting themes worth exploring. You can see the weakest actually over the past 15 days, gold, silver, oil, although obviously in the past 15 days, we've seen some great performances in some of these miners. Silver, PAAS, which we'll go over later, huge breakout. So this is just kind of helping with identifying where that rotation is. You can also see kind of the sectors here, and I've got the mega caps, NVDA, the clear strongest leader over the past 15 days off these lows. But interesting enough, we've got Tesla in there as well. We also, of course, had that recent gap up. Apple strong as well. And of kind of my universe list, we've got some top performers: ASPN, CBNA, TMDX, and we'll definitely take a look at this chart. It's tightening up really nicely after this gap. SG will definitely go over as well, recent earnings gapper. So in terms of themes, AI semis is kind of the number one. Food and beverage, especially kind of fast food, which is SG, Kava, Wingstop. There's Texas Roadhouse. There's a few key names in there that are acting really, really well. We'll go over a few of those charts in just a minute. And other than that, there's some, obviously some kind of peripherals to the AI space. We've got software names. We've got kind of pick and shovel plays. But there's a lot to love just with the AI and semis, as well as the food and beverage. That's a key theme. So with that said, let's go over to my watch list and go through a few individual names. First things first, let's bring up Kava here. This had a nice breakout from this short consolidation. Not sure if this counts as a base. It wasn't too long here, only about 23 bars, but super powerful off these lows. Pullbacks to that 10 EMA. This also coincided with the top of this prior base. And now, we're pushing higher, forming flags, reconfirming higher. Really nice action Thursday and Friday, really showing RS on those 2 days and continues to stand out. And just in that overall context, we're right near those prior highs. We formed that base, we pull back into that area, and now we're potentially forming kind of the institutional advanced phase. So definitely a name to keep an eye on and continue to watch. Also within this theme, I want to bring up SG, and let's just go ahead and sort by percent change, bring that up here. So SG had an earnings gap. If we take a look at that earnings report, the EPS surprise was actually down 31%. Sales beat slightly, but the response was huge, and we've got super high volume. I believe it's the highest volume ever on this day. Not the best closing range. We did have a fade late in the day Friday, which I think contributed to this, but very strong bar, a breakaway gap from this base, and definitely a name to watch either for day 2 entries or after some type of short-term range consolidation. Whatever entry tactics you prefer to use with these type of earnings gappers, definitely a name to have on your radar. KD as well. This is a recent breakaway gap, tight inside day the next day, closing near highs and reconfirmed higher. Nice push through the HVC after pulling back in. And this is one to keep an eye on. This is a huge range bar. It is kind of a continuation gap, but this is the largest range that we've seen during this rally, and closed right near highs on a day where nothing else was, too great. So definitely a name to have on your radar and to look into a little bit more. Really nice earnings growth here, although it is, still negative down here. MU, definitely wanted to highlight this one. You can see forming a short-term flag, moved up higher on Friday. We'll see if we can really push through this sideways pivot. You can see the alert I've got set, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens. This, along with NVIDIA, definitely a focus of mine. App as well had really nice action Friday within this wick. Name to watch on a continuation move up, but this is a little bit more extended in the move, as this is maybe the third or fourth gap within this longer term trend. NVIDIA, definitely want to cover this one. Forming a nice flag sideways back into the moving averages. You've got all of them curled up below it. Really easy to manage risk underneath those. and kind of build into a position. It refused to fall through to the downside after this bar, which is definitely a positive, and it's acting really nicely. And just watching for volume to come in on a push higher and break through these areas. You've got this as a pivot right here around 907. And you can manage risk, as I mentioned, below the 10 EMA, below, the low of last week, which would be Thursday. And, keep it pretty tight and put on a decent sized position in this potential leader in that key theme, AI theme. PI, this had a nice breakout, green line breakout as well, pushed higher, pulling back into that 10 EMA. So want to watch if you like that pullback play. This is also in the semiconductor space. CrowdStrike, this one tried to push out Friday, had a really nice setup, or tight right side above the moving averages. Tried to push out, didn't have a good close, as with kind of everything Friday. So this might need a little bit more time to build out. But this is obviously a leader in the cybersecurity space, which isn't really, a leading theme as of this moment, but it was in 2023. And we'll see if that can take the reins once more. Qualcomm, obviously also in the semiconductor space, acting really well after this gap up. Loved the demand bar here, continue to push higher, and maybe we get 1 day of contraction and then watching for a significant push, through 181 or around 182, ideally closing right near those highs. But we've seen a little bit of fades at that level, Friday included. So I definitely want to see a strong close, ideally on high volume. TMDX, another recent gapper, consolidating. You can see RMV pulling in a tight day on Friday and just watching for reconfirmation up. You could use these pivot highs as a pivot, but definitely want to manage risk on this one. This is a fast mover, and make sure you're out with a profit if you do have a sizable gain. Let's see. VST has been just a monster. Continues to trend nicely. This was the day to really get in. Outside day up the right hand side, undercutting and reclaiming that 21 EMA, and even the next day, tight day, and then reconfirmation upside, breaking through the base, and then it's just continuing to trend above that 10 EMA. Super strong name, VST. Let's see if there's any ones I really wanted to cover as well. Let's see, keep scrolling. Twist, this is another recent gapper, forming a range here. Want to watch if it builds out here. RMV is coming down, would like to see kind of a tight day, and then reconfirmation the upside. This one had pretty good earnings, not huge surprise numbers. Let's see if there's any others I want to touch on. Coinbase hasn't been acting too well, but I'm still watching it and how it acts near the bottom of this base. Negative bar here on Friday. You're expecting a big move after these 2 tight days, and that move was resolving to the downside, but right now at a potential undercut and rally point at this low, and we'll see if it can kind of regain that base. And then this level right here around 216, if it reclaims that, that's also the high of this reversal down bar. So a lot of stops for shorts would be right here. So if you can reclaim that, it's likely got some juice to really push up the right hand side, get back above that 21 EMA. But for that to happen, it does actually have to reverse and start to form higher lows and move up the right hand side. And right now isn't super in focus. That crypto theme isn't super strong, but it's one to watch as well to see if it can reclaim that juice. GCT, very volatile name, but moving out the right hand side, you can see the type of bars this can have, but you just got to manage risk with position size, stops, all that, as you look to enter this type of name. Let's see if there's any other key ones I want to mention. Toast for sure. Nice gap up, 2 very tight days, acting really well. RMV coming down all the way to 0. So watching for reconfirmation of the upside, you could use the high of this day as a pivot, or look intraday to see if there's anything you can use there, managing risk at these higher lows. And if it works, move up those stops, and there you go. So that's pretty much it in terms of what I wanted to cover today. The key thing is there's a lot of setups out there. A lot of charts are shaping up well. We've got potential leading themes in semis and AI, food and beverage, fast food as well. So keep an eye out. Make sure you have your watch list fresh, and look to enter positions as they develop and trigger setups for you. So thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed, go ahead and leave a like down below. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Check out DeepView if you haven't yet using the link in the description. And I'll see you guys in future videos. Take care.